Well, let's get right into it. There have been a lot of twists and turns with this season. The latest, a good one, a big win by Tennessee, and now it is time for Missouri. So, Cooper, how's morale?
Man, I would think it's good. You know, I'm not like a big hoot and hollering kind of guy, but but I think it's good. I have good spirits, man. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely, as well you should. We discussed coming off of a victory a little bit later in the week for the Vol Report, brought to you by City Heat and Air Conditioning. As I want to thank them for they made a special trip by and took care of my mom. That's the kind of people that they are at City Heating and Air Conditioning. So certainly check them out. Integrity matters. Other people might try to get you to just go with a new unit. You don't have to do that. City Heating and Air Conditioning. That's City heatandair.com. So you guys beat UConn handily. And I thought it was interesting the way that it seemed like the ground game and the passing game were both working. And as much as synchronicity as I can recall, seems like everything's clicking on all cylinders at this point. Coop, thoughts?
Yeah, probably the most we felt similar to last year, I would say, in a way where just you know sometimes we've been either pass heavy or run heavy, and but we haven't as much played off of one or the other. Whereas I think last year we played more off of each other, and I think kind of you saw that over this past weekend with UConn. There was a lot of we'd pound the running game for a couple plays, and then do a little play action, and there'd be somebody running scot free. So I think it was probably the best. I feel like we keep getting better. Is probably what it boils down to, and I think we're finally kind of getting to where we want to be.
Well, and I think so too. And I think this has been an interesting season to follow in terms of some decisions Josh Heupel's made, in terms of your injury, obviously that had to be dealt with, and um, but I do agree with you wholeheartedly that it seems like every single week, barring something setting you back significantly, like an injury, you guys have gotten significantly better each and every week. Do you feel like that for the most part?
For sure. And teams that are good get better throughout the season. And that's kind of a theme with teams that are getting better and getting to where they want to be, and the teams that kind of get to where they want to get at the end of the year, is that you can't just start out hot and then just remain complacent for the rest of the year. You have to find a way to sustain and figure out how to get better even when it's hard to.
You and I talked about when you got back shortly after the Florida game, and you said, I feel like I can be healthier because I haven't had that wear and tear on my body going into November. Do you still feel like that?
For sure. I kind of explain it's kind of like a double-edged sword, I don't really know which way it is leaning towards, but kind of the reps you get in the preparation for the season and the training that I missed out on was kind of pivotal to get into the season where I wanted to be. But at the same time, I had no wear and tear other than the injury that I repaired. It kind of hurt me in one sense where I wasn't prepared, but on the back end, it's helped me because I'm not as beat down towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and at what point do you really start to feel that? Is it the second halves of games? Is it throughout the game, just of not being as beat down? When do you feel that?
Really, like what it is through the week. Usually on game days, you feel pretty good just because adrenaline's flowing and you just have to get it done and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But through the week, I'm able to prepare a lot better because throughout a whole SEC schedule, and we play a lot harder schedule than a lot of folks, in my opinion, year in and year out. And it's hard. It's hard to sustain, and talk about getting better throughout the year. It's hard to do that when you're, going through the juggernaut type people every single week. So it's been better this year, I think, in retrospect, looking back. I'm okay with. I've been at peace with how everything played out and everything, and it's for the best. Just didn't know when and what point.
I love giving you the opportunity of kind of throwing out some love, especially on the offensive line. Who are some guys that maybe from the beginning of the season till now have really stepped up their game, partly because of your absence, but also just guys taking that natural progression. It's tougher to do during the season, but some guys are able to do that.
I thought two guys that you know played really well and kind of underappreciated are Ollie and Andre. You know, I think Ollie did a great job. Kind of his plans got derailed. He thought he was going to be playing left guard for the year. So my injury kind of threw a wrench in those plans, and he kind of just went with it and did the best he could and put his best foot forward. And then Andre, I thought Andre was playing really good football, and until he's not been able to play. So those are two guys that have kind of stepped up in adversity and really ran with it and done better.
Yep, no question about it. Then John Campbell was named the co SEC offensive lineman of the week. We haven't had to talk about that position a lot, which Cooper, I guess, is a compliment to him and the way he's played at that left tackle position. Your thoughts on the way he's played at this point?
Yeah, I think he's played really well. And I've kind of talked about John. John's just the guy that is so eager to get better at any chance he can, and came in as an older guy with a lot of humility and openness to receive help from other people and tips and criticism and stuff. Just a guy that done really well here and really fit in and bought into the culture of what we have going on here and then helped lead it. It's rare that you find guys that are older that are willing to change and mold themselves into a different kind of guy during that part of their career.
Yeah, I've been pretty blown away in what he's been able to do. Like I said, I mean, we barely talk about him, so he must be doing a pretty good job over there in at left tackle in the SEC in year number one. That's not an easy feat. As far as revenge games, and you and I talked about this early in the season when I'm sure Alabama wanted every piece of you guys that they could get early in the season, and revenge games carry from year to year. Missouri obviously didn't play the way they wanted to against you guys last year. Do you think revenge is a motivator for them this week?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm sure a couple people probably on their team have thought about that. I don't know. That's not really what I do, but to each their own, of course. I think they're a really good football team, and I think they were underrated a little bit last year, and I think kind of everybody's seen what they put forth this year. I think they're a really solid football team on both sides of the ball, and they're doing some special stuff for sure.
I think part of it was in the score got lopsided. I think it was obviously Josh wasn't afraid to score a little bit more, and whether it's running up the score, whatever it is, um, just in terms of late scores, what's your kind of mindset on those late scores that can make a game look even more one sided?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't pay attention to stuff like that really. I think up until like a little bit late in the fourth, like I don't know what time in the fourth quarter. I think up until the fourth quarter, it was like a one score game. Maybe is that accurate?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously it was a close game, no matter what the final score was. I mean, people read into stuff too much like that, but if you watch the film, they're a really 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 good football team, and they did really well against us.
Yeah. And I don't, you could go like X's and O's above my head in no time. So I'm not going to try to talk X's and O's with you. But I was just watching the Missouri game and the Georgia game, and it seemed like Missouri played some of that three down look that you had talked about early in the season. You might have to remind me of what game that was. Are there any? I guess what I'm asking you, are there any similarities you can draw from previous preparing for an opponent to this week at Missouri?
Yeah, I mean, well, you're gonna scout kind of every game throughout their whole season, different looks and stuff. They do a variety of stuff. They kind of base, I think, out of four down, in my opinion, and I think they get into the three down stuff. During third down and stuff, they put a lot of people up on the line of scrimmage, and you got to block it up the right way, or they're going to expose you. Um, yeah, just they've got a lot of different looks, and you got to be prepared for it all. But looking at stuff on film is critical. Just being dialed into the details and figuring out which person's going where and how you're going to get it done.
Do they remind you of any team this year? Are there any similarities now that we're into November and you've seen some teams?
Oh man, I mean, they don't. I haven't really thought about them reminding me of anybody, but they are basically the same exact unit as last year that did really well, minus and plus a few guys. Um, but yeah, they're a really solid squad, really good defense, and it's going to be a really hard fought game.
Well, and it's funny you say that too, because you talk about how um, you get to know one another if you play together. No two teams are the same. Like people saying, "Oh, that 2022 team, that 2023 team." Yeah, you can compare if you want to, but those are a different set of guys. There's obviously some bleed over, but as a unit, being able to play together from one year to the next, as they're able to up front, a little bit more. How much does that help?
Yeah, it helps a lot. I mean, just there's going to be years. Obviously, not every year. Not anybody's going to have the same exact thing going on, but there are years where they're still the same humans. Still the same type of guys, still the same body, and you can draw a lot of similarities. Everybody improves from year to year. Some people get worse. I mean, they're never going to be the same person, but I mean, they're the same people at the end of the day.
Well, let me ask you then. I wasn't thinking this, but kind of turn it towards you a second. Do you feel like you're pretty close to being a better football player, despite the injury that you had to overcome, a better football player at this time this year as opposed to last year? If you could self scout a little bit for me, how close do you feel like you are?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely better at this point in the year than I was at this point of the year last year. Definitely, I think a lot of that has had to do. I'm a lot bigger now, and I'm maintaining the size that I want to be at. So that's been a difference maker. Considering with my injury and everything, I've had to be bigger to really sustain and do what I want to do. But yeah, definitely, I was watching the Mizzou game last year. Not definitely not as good as I am right now. Was not.
Wow, that's pretty strong. So you watched it last year and you're like, that ain't me.
Yeah, kind of. Not me now. Thank goodness. I didn't have the best day.
Well, I mean that,
At
that
all.
that happens, but as a whole, from week to week, do you feel like you're beyond where you were this time last year?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with what we talked about earlier, feeling fresher and being bigger and stronger. It kinda all plays together and kinda mixes for a better result.
Yep. Than just the beginning of a Hall of Fame NFL career. We're off and running.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose one of my two favorite interviews of the week. It's you and Jacob. I can't give Fred White any love at all.
Yeah, well, you do what you can, man, with what you got.
Okay, you guys head into Missouri. Anything else that stands out to you? We talked about their front, their alignment, schematically, what they do. Any other players that you see up front, and you're like, okay, I got to be extra mindful of that guy.
No, man, I was really worried about the cold temperature up there in Mizzou, but it seems like it's gonna be a little bit warmer. So I don't know. I was kind of scared of that a
Are
little bit.
you a player that does not like playing in cold temperature? Would that be correct in saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, nobody likes being like crazy cold while they're doing their job. It's not conducive to being your best, probably. But at the same time, I'm not like I'm gonna wear the same clothes and like if you find me out here in the Tennessee practice field, like if it's 30 degrees, I'll probably be out there with a crop top, like not doing anything different. But it is annoying. It's
Yeah,
cold.
you're not stopping by the Carhartt store on your way to practice, and
Dude, no, I actually, dude, Carhartt pants, just got them. Just got them, man.
can't beat them. Can't beat them. They're strong. We'll expect a check from Carhartt as that they'll be a part of the ball
Dude,
report.
tell 'em I need some of their pants, man, just for free.
Hey, now what we are hearing though is about 50 degrees and a lot of rain. What do you think about playing on a wet turf?
They said that about the zoo?
Yep, that's what I'm seeing.
Dude, what?
Yep, I'm
You scared?
seeing. Are we? Yeah, I got Columbia weather. Oh, that's Columbia, South Carolina. That's
Yeah, I was like, "What?"
yeah. Let's try that again. Columbia weather, Missouri. It looks like it's going to be nice. Weather shouldn't be a factor. It should be about 60 degrees at kickoff.
Dude,
So
you
there
sound
you go.
over.
We'll just move on. There's also a Columbia, Tennessee. I could have done that, Coop.
Dude, that just had me flabbergasted for a half.
Yeah.
I thought I checked the weather yesterday, and it was supposed to be like, I think it was a high of 60 something and a low of 30 something. So probably around game time it'll be about 55 maybe. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
we've illustrated something. I think it's important for everybody to understand the news values. There's the news guy, there's the weather guy who has to get a special degree, and then there's the sports guy that's a little further down there.
The,
That's me. For,
the barometer, man.
for Cooper Mays, I'm Dave Hooker. A cold front pushing in, so we'll get out of the way. The Vol Report with Cooper Mays is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters 50 years in East Tennessee. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.